essentially, I just wanted to make t-shirts. I don't know why I wanted to do that as a kid.
You really set the bar low, and you failed.
I set the bar so low, and I still did not achieve my dreams.
I was going to say, you could do this tomorrow. You could go to Michael's and buy a kit, and you could be doing this in 20 minutes.
Welcome everyone to S1E1, the show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just its first televised episode, and ignoring anything else we might know about the future run, rate just that episode alone. This week we're going to be talking about Dave. Dave at this point has gone 20 episodes over 2 seasons on FXX, but is still running. As far as we know, there'll be a 3rd season. We're talking about episode 1 today, which is called The Gander, which debuted March 4th, 2020. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me as always, Gordo, Nick, Joe, and Ferg. What's going on, guys?
Heyo.
Hi. Statistically, I skew white. That was a weird one to pick. I don't know.
That's going to sound bad out of context.
Yeah, out of context,
yeah.
Awful.
That's a sound clip, yeah. So to start off, I mean, I always ask, have you guys seen Dave before we recorded this episode, before you had to watch episode 1?
No,
Yeah,
never
yes.
seen it.
I'm not caught up on it, but I'm fully through the 1st season and part of the 2nd. Yeah, I have watched it. I think, this, what you said, it came out in March, right? This was a big COVID show.
Yeah, it was perfect timing.
So yeah,
I think Nick, you got me into this show. Anytime
I do remember
start a
talking
show,
about it,
I just
yeah.
can't stop watching.
Yeah, I was a little late to start it, but then I did watch it at some point during lockdown, and I've watched season 1. I didn't get around to season 2 yet, but I've seen all of season 1. Joe, you said you never saw it in Gordo. Did you also say you never saw it?
Yeah, I never saw it.
Okay, and then...
I've never seen it, but it's definitely one of those shows, Hulu constantly is just like, we'll start a show for you.
Yeah.
So I've seen the first couple of minutes or the first 30 seconds of that first episode 20 times and just never continued on.
What was the other show you said that about? You've said that before.
Oh God, Blacklist?
No, it was one we were covering on the show. Might have been Community.
Oh, maybe it was Community, yeah. It was, and it happened so many times I was up to Community episode 7 by the time I went back to it from playing 10 minutes at a time.
So I want to follow up this time with that question and now ask, how many of you guys were familiar with Lil Dicky before watching this show?
I knew who he was, and I was a big fan of the, was it the Save That Money or whatever?
Save That Money, yeah.
Because there was a big thing about how he did the video, and he just went around and asked all these people with nice houses and cars if he could just shoot for 20 minutes in their yard or in their driveway. And
Yeah.
the whole video looks like just this big bawling video, and it's just stuff he's just borrowing really quick.
Yeah,
It was-
completely done for free.
And I remember seeing that, and he's got a few really catchy songs, but other than that, I never really followed much of him.
I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that I wasn't on the radar of a YouTube rapper. So yeah, I had no interest in anything this dude was doing.
Lil Dicky?
Yeah, I mean, I liked Save That Money. Freaky Friday he did with Chris Brown was really funny.
Fuck Chris Brown.
Yeah, isn't Chris Brown a terrible person?
That's irrelevant to the fact that they did a video together and it's funny. So
What's his song? The video I think is on a rooftop of a building.
I'm not sure. But he's first known, I think the song that blew him up was a song he did called Ex-Boyfriend, which as of now has about 40 million views on YouTube. That was, I think, the first song that really blew up for him.
No, that's a statistical thing now, right? That's a big deal. Your YouTube views is a way to gauge how popular you are.
Well, yeah, because you're seeing impressions. It's like anything else. It'd be like podcasting, anything else. You're tracking your numbers, and this is proof that it's getting views. If you think back in the past, your video could be aired on MTV all the time, and that would essentially just be companies and recording places pumping their artists and making them play their videos. But you didn't really know if any popularity was gauged by that alone. You could play a song on MTV every 20 minutes, but what does that mean? You don't know if people cared or wanted it to be played. It was just being played.
I think I'm more just bothered by the advertising of it. It looks really depressing to me. Be over 50,000 views on YouTube. Check his QR code. All of that makes me very upset in my head.
This is also you being afraid of modern times, though.
Not afraid, just don't like.
Can I just say that while we're on the topic here, you can go to S1E1pod.com and click our YouTube link, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel because...
Yes, we have one too. We have slightly less than 40 million views on all of our videos, but we're getting there.
That's Gordo's baby.
Should we see if Chris Brown's available?
I mean, it would help the numbers.
His fandom would help us big time, so yes.
I'll just fight him.
Tag team, Nick. I'll go with you.
All right, so let's get into the actual episode itself. So the opening scene, first we hear a song. We see a guy sitting in a doctor's office. The song being played, by the way, is OG Rapper by A$AP Rocky. Joe, do you have any other favorite A$AP Rocky songs?
You just said 2 words, and I know what one of them means, I think. And I don't know if that's correct or not.
Right.
I'm with you, Joe. I actually thought that was him singing, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're in the doctor's office, and we just see Dave, or Little Dicky, the star of the show, sitting at the table. He's just kind of looking at his phone, and he's essentially Googling about herpes. And so we kind of know why he's at the doctor's office. And
we've all been there.
Yeah. Oh, the doctor walks in and sits kind of across from him while, Dave's sitting at the table. And he's explaining how he noticed red bumps when he was shaving his pubiscus. And the doctor's like a little taken by the terminology, but he's like, all right, let me see it. And then Dave explains that before he even takes his penis out, he needs to kind of go over a few things. And he says that he has a very bizarre situation down there and that he was born with a tangled urethra. So they had to do a bunch of surgeries, and there's a lot of scarring in that area. He's very self-conscious, even to show a doctor his dick for the first time.
He says chicken skin ribbed up my shaft.
Yeah.
And I was immediately on board with this show. Like, I didn't know where I was going to land on this because I was very anti this show going into the premise of it. But within a minute, I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's see where this goes.
So, yeah, in reference to what you're saying, he's explaining that he's telling the doctor, you know how the skin on your balls is different than the skin on your dick? He's like, what I think happened was I think the doctors, when they were performing all those surgeries, had to borrow skin from my balls. So essentially, my dick is made of balls. And the doctor's face when they cut to him, like, he's just blank. He has no words.
This is very much a Curb Your Enthusiasm thing to me. The just like oversharing to a doctor, but then not trusting a doctor either. Like, he's like, well, who's to say? He's like, I'm the one to say. I'm the doctor. That fucking killed me.
He's like, there's a big disconnect between the online medical community and this brick and mortar thing. And he goes, you mean doctors? You mean doctors?
Referring to doctors as the brick and mortar community is so fucking funny.
And by the way, the thing that Lil Dicky is referring to earlier is called hypospadias, and that's the urethra problem.
Yeah.
And it's a birth defect in boys where the opening of the urethra is not located at the tip of the penis, which, by the way, Lil Dicky has confirmed is an actual fact about him in real life. All the things that he said medically were real things about him.
Oh, I didn't look that up for a picture. Where does it go?
So is his dick really made of balls?
I didn't click. Yeah, I guess I didn't. I clicked on tangled urethra. That's what I Googled to see if that was a real thing or not. I did not then click on images tab. I just stayed with the articles. So
he says he pees 2 streams.
But yeah, so yeah, he says he doesn't like anyone to see his dick.
Yeah,
so
on my work computer.
What?
Oh, I'm looking up tangled urethra on my work computer because I'm just really intrigued to see what this looks like. I don't want these diagrams. I want a real picture.
Joe's looking up dicks.
I'll be fired tomorrow.
While you're looking this up, yeah, he's explaining to his doctor that he doesn't want anyone to see his dick, including his own girlfriend. And he's been doing a good job hiding it by controlling the lighting and stuff like that, which, I mean, unless it's pitch black, you can only hide things like this for so long, right? If you have a dick that's made out of balls.
Would that be bad, though?
What do you mean, would it be bad?
A dick made out of balls?
I think that's
the way he described ball skin beforehand.
No. We'll get to the manager, nutty there. Trust me, it's coming.
Well, hold on. So when he described ball skin earlier, he did have when he said it was like chicken skin, like you knew exactly what he meant. So
yeah.
Is it so bad that your whole dick is like that? I would say so.
I mean,
I don't understand your conundrum, Gordo. Of course it would suck.
No,
Wait, was your questioning that it might not suck?
Oh, that kid doesn't sound that bad,
I don't think it would be that bad. I mean,
like my ball skin.
No, but think about it. Your nuts are a little bit more sensitive than your dick.
But it doesn't. I don't think he's saying the feeling translates the same either. It's just
and
that
it's not your
it's just a
sack
type of
that's
skin.
sensitive. Yeah.
Well, what is it then?
It's the balls inside that are sensitive.
Yeah, he's right too. It's just skin. Skin is skin. There's no like feeling in skin.
But it's an aesthetic thing. He's embarrassed about the way it looks.
Right.
Oh.
That's the issue. Not
Okay,
that his
so
dick
so
doesn't
ball
work.
skin would be bad.
Yes, ball skin would be bad. Yes,
But I mean, I can't imagine ball skin is any different than other skin.
You have
Maybe his
balls.
dick
You
looks
have
like a
balls,
brain.
right?
Have you ever noticed that it's not smooth skin like
Starting
the rest
off
of
with
your
a
body?
bang today.
It is smooth. Mine are.
All right, well, let's move on from that. But we have to close out this scene. So Dave finally shows the doctor the situation, and after about a half a second of looking at it he had like a little flashlight. So Joe, did that do it for you?
I had a little razzle.
Yeah. So he looks at it and he's like, yeah, that's razor burn. And that was it. And obviously Dicky was not completely satisfied with that answer. He wanted to believe there was more going on. Although, is that because it's not that you want there to be herpes there, but you don't want to think that you wasted your time or that you were worried about nothing?
I think he's just
I'd
neurotic.
rather be worried about nothing. I
Yeah.
think.
So he's also using this as an opportunity to sneak in like an extra question, even though what kind of doctor is this, by the way? This is just like
It's just a general practice.
General doctor.
Like,
Yeah.
A ball doctor.
well, this is why I was curious, because earlier on, actually, when they're showing establishing shots of the office, you see the little, like, I don't know what that is. I don't want to say a statue. What is it? That was like
Diagram,
it was like a 3D, the insides of your dick or whatever.
So he's a urologist.
Yeah, he could have been a urologist.
Oh, he might have been a urologist, actually.
Yeah, I would assume urology.
Because his follow-up question, he was trying to sneak in a question about his back. And he said he was like developing like back knee. And please don't keep that picture up for the entire thing.
if you wanted to know, this
The
is,
one to the far right is my favorite, where
this is mid shaft. So you can
the
see
urethra
it's
comes out,
gonna be right
bottom shaft, top ball.
Great. This is obviously not a clip that I can use the video for regardless. So
here. Why? It's a medical diagram.
I doubt this is going to make it onto the Instagram.
Get those aliens off your screen.
Yeah.
I mean,
There we
imagine
go.
having to pee out your balls.
That's not what that is.
That's exactly what that
What-
is. Actually.
I think that's exactly what it was. Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
urethra was coming kind of midstream there.
Yeah, but it was like mid shaft. It wasn't.
No, you didn't see.
No, the one to the far right was
you didn't see
Nick,
the
put the picture back
penascrotal
up.
one.
I'm sorry, I didn't give it a good enough look. My
top
bad.
ball. Take a better look at the shaft.
Yeah, there's one that it's right above the nut.
Okay, I really want to move on from this. Like, very, very much so want to move on from this. Yeah, to close it out, he just tries to add in an extra question about some back knee that he's got going on. And he's like, no, that's not my field. And at this point, you just know the doctor is incredibly frustrated with him and doesn't want to talk to him at all. And he's like, I'll just refer you to someone. He's like, yeah, but you would know more than like the common person about this, right? He's like, no, it's not my field. I'm going to refer you. And that was it. So we cut to the intro. The intro is just a black screen and it just says Dave and with white letters. And you hear the intro song, which is
My
just
name is Dave.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Dave.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a very catchy beat. I like that.
Yeah, it's real quick, simple, and I think it's perfect for the show because, in my mind, I'm like, what else could this even be? Like, you can't do like an intro, like a standard intro to a different type of TV show. It's like with him doing narration, like, hi, I'm little Dicky, and this is my life. Like, this is my best friend, Mike, and this is my girlfriend, Allie. Like, that doesn't work. So now for the next scene, we see Dave walking into like this recording studio. And I don't know, Joe Gordo, did this stuff catch your eye? Like, does this studio look pretty legit? Was the equipment about right? Anything, seem off to you?
The culture just seemed off for me.
You
I know
don't,
about
you don't
Gordo.
see much of it in that first scene.
What was that, Joe?
So the culture of it seemed off to me just because I'd never been in that. But Gordo, you've like actually recorded hip hop artists and stuff. I've just been there with bands and stuff, and I've never.
Yeah,
been
but I'm talking
where
about the
there was,
studio itself. I'm not like, hey, were the guys sitting in the studio looking about right to you?
Oh no, I just mean like the culture of a studio is usually very sterile. It's not like this, right? It's not like a bunch of people hanging
Yes, it
around
is.
and smoking and stuff. It's always
Yes, it
just
is.
like, I think it's way more business-like than that.
Here's the deal. Some studios, that is the real deal. Like if you got enough money,
Well, yeah, I was going to say
you
that.
do
It
that.
probably has more to do
Oh,
with
that
that.
helps, yeah.
but like if you're scrubs like us going in, no, you're not doing that. You're probably lucky if
This-
you can bring in a beer.
I meant to ask this, and I meant to also look it up, so I should know it already. But the character is not a real rapper, right?
No, he is.
The one that's recording?
Yeah, we're going to get into it as we went
Oh,
along,
okay.
but yeah.
But yeah, everything looks legit. That's a legit looking studio. That's exactly what I would expect to see.
Yeah, to go on to tail on what you said, yeah, as far as like what you were saying, Gordo, yeah, a bigger artist who has any notoriety is going to kind of have free reign to do what they will because at the end of the day, saying that they recorded there is good on the studio, right? That's a little notch on the belt, so it's better to deal with that.
Yeah, so you're more likely to put up with more bullshit from especially someone with notoriety, but like that's kind of the thing when you own a studio. You know, don't let people, you don't bring your crew, you don't like, and that goes for any artist, like don't bring every person in your studio because nothing will get done.
Think of it, Jay, like getting tattooed. Every time you're getting tattooed or whatever, and you see somebody come in with like 5 of their friends, everybody in that room is just like, oh Jesus goddamn Christ, why did you bring an entourage with you?
Yeah,
Right,
Studios
but I'm
are
sure
like
if like a celebrity went in with their crew, no one would bat an eye or question
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, so when he walks in, Dave, that is, there's like this, everyone just stops dead in their tracks at this point. And then it's also the, what the fuck is that smell? And the only person who seems to know him is Els, who we don't know his name at this point, but Els is his buddy. Stands up and addresses the situation like he's always doing this shit with the tuna fish. And then he drags him out and they're talking in the hallway. And Dave's like, what? You told me I can drop by the studio whenever I wanted. He's like, yeah, I didn't mean like literally walking in the middle of a session. Like, come in the lobby, like, network with people, talk.
What tuna does he have that's that potent that he walks in and everyone's like, ugh?
I don't know. I feel like I can smell tuna from a mile away.
You think
Yeah.
so?
I've
Tuna's a
gone on
smelly
this rant
fish.
before. Yeah, tuna is one of those things that I've said you should never eat in the break room at work. Like, I like tuna, and I feel like it's only appropriate that I eat that at home. Or if I went somewhere. I mean, additionally, I have a personal rule. I will not eat tuna that was made ahead of time. I have to make it myself, but that's a side thing. But tuna smells way too potent, and you really shouldn't be bringing that into a public space because it's just way too noticeable.
All I can think of is when Michael Scott goes
Yeah, same. Did you also bring a bag of baby poop?
to Winnipeg in the office.
But yeah, Dave's like, oh, I'm sorry. You didn't lay out these very specific rules. I'll keep that in mind next time.
That line really got me though, because that's insanely specific. If you don't know the social cues of the world, like you shouldn't show up to places with stinky sandwiches in your backpack, which
Right.
you should just know. Otherwise, him being like, there shouldn't be any tuna in here is a very specific rule. And it's very funny.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, as they're having this discussion, the rapper YG walks by. Nick, you asked earlier. Yeah, he's an actual rapper, YG, and he's with a few people in his entourage. And as they pass, you can hear him on the phone saying, "Man, studio smells like tuna. That shit stinks. What the fuck's going on?"
Now, is his rap name really YG?
YG, yeah, young gangster. Like everything that they announced him as
That's
is real.
legit. That's
Yeah.
That's That's not like made for TV.
He's
Oh, okay,
an
cool.
actor too.
Yeah, no, he's really funny.
Yeah.
Seems like a nice guy.
It's also one of his top songs on Spotify has almost 500 million listens. So so for me, I've never heard this guy. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, I've never heard of him before.
And then as they walk by, Dave wants him to show the guys in the studio his video, and Els is immediately like, absolutely not. He's like, you need to know your audience. Those gangsters in there don't want to see your dick jokes.
To be fair, I would.
To be
if I were
fair,
them.
a song called My Dick Sucks not being written by Gordo is almost insane to me.
This guy is everything I've aspired to be. But, you know,
Yeah,
we'll
Gordo's
get
song
into
that would be called "A Dick Made Out of Balls Doesn't Sound So Bad."
And the B-side would be Ow My Fucking Thumb.
Who's boner?
So Dave's now after this is sitting in, I guess it's the lobby area of the studio, or I don't know if like this building is strictly a studio or if it's like multi-purpose. It kind of regardless. And he opens up his laptop and he's checking his own YouTube to see. I think he's just checking the view count on his My Dick Sucks video, which at that point was over 15 million listens.
It's weird he didn't check on his phone though. You can check your YouTube on your phone. Pulling out your computer seems excessive.
Yeah, he went through all the trouble to like sit down, like pull his laptop up. And when he opens it, the video plays for like 2 seconds, but that was just enough for the person sitting across from him, who's Gator, to hear it. And he's like, oh, aren't you that YouTube rapper with the small dick? And like, little Dicky's actually really excited because he's being recognized. And he asked him if he likes that song, and he gets kind of like affirmation from that. And he's like, oh, I've lived my whole life trying to like please people of your pedigree.
This is where the dance of death comes for the whole rest of the episode, where it's just insanely racial joke tiptoeing, which ends up, they do very well. It's very funny.
Yeah, I mean, because he lives within that world and he knows what he can and can't say around people that he actually socializes with.
I know we're only watching the first episode, but as this show goes on, you've come to find out that Gata is kind of like his like sidekick, like hype man, which is real life also. Gata is like his real like guy who's always with him. Yeah.
Is it Gata or Gator?
Gata, Gata.
Gator.
Okay,
Gator.
because he says like alligator, but
He does. He says like alligator, but it's not gator like gator. It's like gator. Well, I'm trying to say alligator.
It's not
and just, well, how would you say the end of alligator with like
a gay robot.
gator?
I am Gator.
You say it like the state that we're all from, Gator.
Yeah.
that's not how I
Gator,
say it.
Gator.
Gator kid. You dropped the R.
Gator.
Gator.
ER.
Gator.
I mean, Joe would be like, "Nope, boy, that's an
Gator.
alligator that you see up
But it is
there."
spelled
Trent
it is,
Reznor.
it is spelled OR, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it is Gator.
But he pronounces it Gator.
Yeah. See, when you think about the spelling, it's tough to say it.
Gator.
But yeah, so Gator asks him if he wants to smoke some weed, and he's like, do I want to smoke some weed? No thanks.
By the way, that is a conundrum I put myself in all the time.
Me
Anytime
too.
someone's like, "Hey, you want to smoke?" Because I do smoke, but like I'm not a daytime smoker like Dave.
Me
like
too.
I'm just like I love how he put that. He comes up saying it's like a glass of wine at the end of the day. It's like that. That's how I treat it.
I
too.
wanted to ask you guys, do you think a lot of this is improvised, or do you think like this is a straight script? Because I couldn't tell. It seemed like a lot of it, like they get like smiling low, like
It's
trying
a
to
lot of
hold that
natural
glass there.
delivery for sure, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of clever writing.
It reminds me of a lot of Curb Your Enthusiasm, where Larry David is very obviously like these are observational things that Larry David is talking about, right? He's kind of, it's almost like a stand-up act in a line, right? So there is a degree of writing, but there is also, I'm sure, it would have to be a degree of ad-libbing it too.
It reminds me a bit of Letterkenny, where it's just so rapid fire
Right.
that part of it feels improv, but it's so tight that there's no way it can be, but it doesn't make it any less funny. It's just so well done and so tight.
And Dave wants to know, like, he asks Gator, like, do you know that YG's here? And he's like, yeah, why do you think I'm here? And we don't really know. I mean, and even then it's still unclear because he doesn't specifically get into it.
He does, actually. He says his boy so-and-so sells YG weed.
Oh, okay. I'll be completely honest. Gator talks so fast at times that it's tough to pick up all the nuances of what he's saying at times.
Yeah, I get that.
This is one of those shows, too, where everyone talks so fast, it's hard to keep notes correct.
It's because it's a bunch of non-professional actors with exception. You know
But
what mean?
I think it comes out very real. I like the way it plays.
Right, yeah,
Mm.
no. But that's why those types of things are going to happen, I think.
Yeah.
That's why you got to watch with the closed caption.
But yeah, so he's Dave basically explains to him, he's like, I need to get like YG on one of my songs because this is the only way that people are going to take me seriously and not just think of me as like a YouTube rapper. And do you think that's valid? Do you think that's like a valid thought train? Like, do you need someone else to validate you? Or
100%.
Yeah.
We would love the same thing. If we could get anybody remotely famous on this show, it would instantly boost our numbers.
That's
And
true.
That's just
That's
what
true.
you need to do.
Yeah, I guess if you go into the same world, right? Like if Mark Maron was like, hey, I love your podcast, 8 billion people would hear it, right?
Right.
I'd
So
rather mock Marrow. That's just me.
less
The
more
Wild Man?
enjoyable, more funny, but less people would probably end up getting.
Mark Maron went viral himself very recently with his public speaking.
Oh yeah, I remember you sending me that.
Yeah, he tells a very sad story about his mother who has since passed, but we won't get into all that. So Gator basically explains to him it's all about the gander, which is actually the name of the episode is the gander. And he's like, you know, you got to present yourself a certain way. He's like, you're going in there like, hi, I'm Dave. And you need to be like, yo, what's up? I'm Little Dicky. And you got to own it.
I like when he tries to do it later. Though. I'm Little Dicky.
Yeah.
Now, Little Dicky is the actual rapper name, right?
Right. He goes
Right,
by
yeah.
Little
He
Dicky.
goes Little Dicky. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So this big dude from like YG's crew walks in and he just tells Dave to go get some food. And Dave, I don't know if he's trying to adhere to the advice he gave at this point, but he's like, actually, no, there's a misunderstanding. I'm Little Dicky. He's like, Little Dicky. All right, well, go get YG some food.
I think he says, okay, what's up,
hungry.
Little Dicky? Go get some
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
So yeah, and Gator steps in and he's like, yeah, all right, well, we're going to head down the street and grab something right now. So you see them kind of walking back down after they have this big bag of like snacks. And he's telling him the story. Gator's telling Little Dicky this story basically about a time that he was in Miami at the Hit Factory, which is another recording studio. And a bunch of like the New Orleans guys were there and they're dressed in like big baggy pants and big shirts. He's like, you know how their style is generally. He's like, and meanwhile, he's like, I'm all Cali swagged out. So it's basically what he's explaining is more of like a skater look that a lot of like a certain area, I guess, the rappers have now. It's like the tighter pants and like the
Lil Wayne
chains.
style.
Exactly. And that's,
Yeah.
but essentially what that story was leading to is that Lil Wayne was there and basically admired his style and got on 3 songs with him because based on his swag alone. But I like there was a moment between that when cause he just said Wayne and Lil Dicky's like, wait, Lil Wayne? He's like, what other Wayne do you know? And under his breath, he just goes, Brady.
That got me, and then he keeps going. He goes Gretzky, and he just keeps going and going with it. That was so funny.
There's a couple times this episode where his cultural references I really enjoy because they're way closer to mine than to what the show is saying. Like Wayne Brady or Wayne Gretzky makes way more sense to me. Like, I wouldn't know who Little Wayne was if I ran him over. Like I know the name, but like I don't know who he is. But if I saw Wayne Brady on the street, I'd be like, oh my God, it's Wayne Brady.
Every week you say something that amazes me more and more about like we constantly reference how not in tune with the modern world you are, but
well, I know his name. I know who he is.
Lil Wayne, who's like one of the biggest recording artists of the last 15 years now, probably. It's like, and you still are like, if I ran over him, I wouldn't know what he looked like. He's basically at a level like you wouldn't know Dolly Parton if you ran into her.
Oh, I know Dolly Parton.
You'd also bounce back if you ran into it.
I was waiting. It's like someone's got to say something. Right?
In my head, I was like, someone's going to make a comment. I just don't want it to be me this time. And yeah, there was also a nice little close to that conversation too, when he was like, you have 3 songs all the way. He's like, yeah, they're on my laptop. I mean, they never came out. But
see, that's insane to me because if you had 3 songs with the person who's that famous on your computer, you just put them on YouTube or what's the thing people with mixtapes on? SoundCloud.
Like Bandcamp or any of that stuff.
Or SoundCloud. You should be like, hey, look, here's me, and these are unreleased songs with this really famous guy. And even if you got sued and they came down, you'd raise your profile. So I don't believe he's telling the truth.
That's the thing though, did that actually happen or is he bullshitting? I'm like,
I think he's bullshitting.
Yeah.
We'll never know. Because essentially he's taking credit for Lil Wayne's whole style, right?
I know that part's bullshit, but I didn't know if he actually had tracks with him or...
Yeah, that I don't think it answers it in this episode.
No. And what I liked was right after they finally get back to the studio and they're like at the door kind of preparing themselves to walk back in and he's kind of hyping them up. Just go in there and just give them... So Lil Dicky opens the door and just goes, snack time. Like there's all these there's a room full of gangsters and stuff in the back on the other side of the door and he just snack time everyone,
and then they close the door and he goes, I don't feel like that helped my career at all.
yeah because that big dude just grabbed the bag of snacks and shut it. And I personally suspect that guy wasn't even talking on behalf of YG. He just wanted snacks and just sent those 2 dudes out to get them for him.
Possible.
Well, we're technically a crew. Is there anybody we know we can bully us to go get snacks?
I'm sure there's plenty of people that could bully us. Yeah, I mean,
reverse that. Like, we're a crew, right? We're recording and we're a crew. In this situation, we're YG.
So, one of us is the muscle to go get someone else to get us snacks?
Jay, go get your brother to get us some snacks.
I mean, that would probably work, actually.
Yeah, that would work.
But in any event, so they realize they're not getting in, so they're leaving, and Gator takes Dave's phone, and he puts his number in and the number of YG's manager, tells him to get in contact with him, and you'll probably just have to pay him or something for a verse. And it closes with, he's like, oh, let me get a picture of you for my Instagram, though. And Dave thinks it's a video. I forget what Dave did, though, or Lil Dicky. I'm going to go back and forth the entire time.
He's
dancing.
One or the other.
He starts saying something.
He started saying something.
He's introducing a music video or something.
He just goes, yo, what's up? I'm Lil Dicky. He goes, wait a minute. This is just a picture.
All right. I didn't remember exactly what he said. It came off almost like he was doing a news report to me for whatever reason. And then the next scene, Lil Dicky's in his apartment and he's eating Taco Bell and you see him picking out all the lettuce and it just immediately just thought of Ferg.
I can relate.
Yeah. And that's when we see Allie and Mike, who are played by Taylor Myshak or something.
Yeah, I had no idea how to say that one.
I tried.
That's a tough pronunciation.
I even watched I honestly, as I was taking my notes, went to YouTube and watched a video of her being interviewed by someone else to hear someone else say it. And it's escaping my mind. So my apologies to Taylor Myshak.
It could just be Missiak too.
Missiak?
It's not. It's not. Just based on what the other people said, at least, and they even confirmed, did we say it right? It's like, yeah, you nailed it. And it still has escaped my brain from when I watched it to now as I speak. And then, but Mike is also played by Andrew Santino, who's a very famous comedian who I'm a fan of. I can't think of anything else I know her from, but Andrew Santino's been in a ton of stuff. Probably best known though for his stand-up.
Yeah, he's super funny.
He's one of those. He's another Bradley Cooper, and what's his name? Because I fucking hate him on The Office. I think we've discussed him. I think he popped up in another show we did.
So
discussed this. Yeah.
I looked it up. It like how to pronounce it. It's Meshach.
Meshach.
Mehshack.
Meshach.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And so Andrew Santino, he's got a couple podcasts of his own too. So shout out to Whiskey Ginger, which is his solo venture, and Best Friends that he does with Bobby Lee. Both very funny, both podcasts I actually listen to.
Yeah, I also really like Bobby Lee too. I like all those Comedy Store guys who were sort of around the Comedy Store at the middle period where it was dying and like kept it going.
Bobby Lee worries me.
No, you know what's funny?
I think he's sober now.
Yeah, I think, and if you actually listen to that podcast, another plug for Bad Friends, and you kind of hear the dynamic between the two of them, and you get like more of an insight to who Bobby Lee is, because when Bobby Lee's on other shows, he's just always on, so he's like being very exaggerated, and he does it on his own show too, of course, but you get like a more normal version of him. I think it's a pretty good podcast. So again, shout out to Bad Friends and Whiskey Ginger.
One of the few dudes too who's really made it out of the Mad TV thing alive. Because not a lot of the Mad TV cast made it out with like respectable
Key and Peele are doing very well now.
But they were like the end. I don't think anybody was even watching Mad TV when they were on it.
They were on the tail telling of it, yeah.
I didn't even know they were on it.
I was just gonna say, I didn't know they were on
That's why
it.
like nobody was even watching at that point. But the point where it was like Bobby Lee and, that whole crew, Stewart.
But Bobby Lee isn't in this, so Andrew Santino is. So
but
before we talk about, before we talk about Bobby Lee for too long, but you can kind of immediately tell just from this first scene with the Taco Bell that like this is his best friend and his girlfriend. I think that's very clear with just the way that they interact with one another. I don't know if you guys felt any differently upon seeing that first like minute or so.
I actually, my whole first watch through, like when I originally watched it, I thought they were brothers. But
really,
yeah, I thought they were supposed to, because they're just both like neurotic Jews, like.
Andrew Santino's not Jewish.
On the show, they seem it.
He seems Jewish?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he mentions that little Dicky's Jewish a number of times because he's calling out the like, everyone wants to be jealous of you because they want to be like poor and Jewish or whatever. But I don't know if I would take him as being one. Yeah,
and because I like the first interaction that you have, the first time they really speak is Mike mentions how he heard that Allie recently made him try a grape. And she's like, I did. And he hated it. He said it was too gushy. And again, I was like, this is like another Ferg thing. Ferg, yeah. And he's like, who eats those things? It's like most people.
Yeah. I'll do a green grape. Don't get purple near me.
I'll tell you this though, and it's because I've seen it before, but I do notice it as the episode progresses too. Andrew Santino's character is a little much sometimes. He is just constantly annoyed by Dave, like constantly. And they're supposed to be like best friends, and
he's very dickish.
Yeah,
that's why I thought they were brothers.
He needs to like pump the brakes on it a little bit because he's just you're right. He's just a dick to him the whole time. Like he never stops, and it's like, why are you even hanging out with this guy if you don't really like him somehow?
I think he's just super high strung. I think that's just kind of what he's trying to perceive is that he's just super high strung, so he's just kind of always like on edge.
Nick, did you relate to him at all as somebody who works in an office? Because I found him to be like, I know a number of people like him when he was like making such a big deal out of the fact that his work phone's going off after work hours. I had like a shudder where I was like, God, I'm in a bar, it's a Saturday and I know that person because they took their work phone with them for some goddamn reason.
Yep.
And they want you to know they have it.
And also here we see that Allie, she's apparently a teacher, so she's sitting down and she's about to grade papers. And Dave mentions how much this turns him on and starts like, they kind of like role play a little bit. And like Mike looks mortified as they're going back and forth. And especially when Dave says the line, it was, my dick wants to jump out of its skin and run around the playground.
Well, since we found out about his skin, it makes more sense now.
Yeah. And she's like, I don't know where to go with that. And he's like, go into Dave's room where this shit belongs.
It's not that hard. Yeah.
Which is an appropriate response to that.
Yeah. So they're playing into it. And they get to this point where they're like slowly leaning towards one another. And they're like, they kind of give each other a little kiss, but they're just both staring at him as they do it. And then they get into a thing where they're looking at like some of the papers that she's grading. And that's when you can see she's actually just like a kindergarten teacher. And it's the whole premise is like, what I want to be when I grow up. And she's like, oh, that's weird. No one said that they want to be a day trader. And he's like, well, did any of them say they want to be a kindergarten teacher? and Dave actually seems very interested in this conversation. He's like, I bet a lot of them said that they want to be musical artists though, right?
It's weird. What are you grading?
Pictures.
I think as like, when you're a kindergarten teacher first, it's not the type of thing that you have to like bring home to grades. You probably
failed this.
You could pump that out like real quick as they're walking in because you're just basically putting smiley stickers on all of it.
Because I mean, at that age, kindergarten, right? You're basically a daycare. You know,
to a degree,
you're a little bit more than a daycare.
You're learning.
You should be teaching basics and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't see anything you could be grading. You know.
Do you remember what you wanted to be when you were in kindergarten?
Yes,
an astronaut.
Taller. Never happened.
a Ninja Turtle. Never happened, though.
No, it didn't work out.
No.
They already had a mic. You were like, ah, shit.
I have a vivid memory from kindergarten, actually. We were, like, they have, like, those little cook sets, like the fake kitchens, right? And someone we know, who I've known since kindergarten, obviously, brought, you know, like the little eggs you get out of, like, a vending machine? Like, that have, like, little toys in them and stuff like that?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I thought you were going somewhere way different. With
Not a vending machine, like a gumball machine is what I meant.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right,
that
right.
makes more sense.
And so he had one of those, and he's like, "Oh, and he was like pretending to cook it, and he cracked it, and it just shattered and like destroyed his hand." And I was like, "Oh my god, what is happening right now?" It was like blood. He's screaming, crying. I was like, "This is crazy," and I don't know why. I'm not. How old are
I
you?
wonder why you have a vivid image of that.
It's
scarring for a
crazy. Yeah, I don't know
child.
why it sticks out to me, but
I think like in kindergarten, I can't remember. I probably wanted to be a wrestler, but you know what's it's weird, but one of the earlier jobs I ever remember really wanting to have as a little kid was I wanted to own like a store that I could silk screen t-shirts. I didn't know about silk screening, but essentially I just wanted to make t-shirts. I don't know why I wanted to do that as a kid.
You really set the bar low, and you failed.
I set the bar so low and I still did not achieve my dreams.
I was going to say, you could do this tomorrow. You could go to Michael's and buy a kit, and you could be doing this in 20 minutes. And you were
You don't even need
35
a
and have not
store.
figured this out.
no,
I
I gotta pick up a double.
put- up on
and no
Redbubble.
offense. No offense to anyone who actually does do this for a living, because I still would like to venture into this one day as an adult. But I basically shot for the dirt and still missed.
Yeah, that's a resounding, thumbs up to the silk screening community. There.
I apologize. I have all the utmost respect for what you guys do, and like I said, I still would like to do it one day. I just haven't.
I really wanted to be the guy that scoops the elephant shit at the circus, but I just couldn't do it.
Couldn't make it work.
Is silk screening still the best medium for that, or is
Yeah.
it like a more of like a digital printing?
Direct to garment
You can do digital,
is
but it
quicker and
sucks.
easier. But
Yeah.
they don't hold up the
quality
same.
is
You can
just better
tell.
with silk screening. Yeah.
You can tell, like, upon picking the shirt up, you can tell which one you got.
You
Yeah.
would think with technology there'd be like a new, better way, like a more superior way than that by now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just kind of the same as like you still need somebody to paint your house, right? And it's still
Right.
ladders and buckets of paint and brushes
Yeah.
and rollers and stuff like that. It's just you can't do it another way.
Well, I mean, you get that Boss spray gun.
Yeah, but it sucks.
That doesn't work, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great in theory, but terrible in practice.
Well, you get that roller that's got the paint in it already.
Same thing. Yeah, it doesn't really
Also
work.
a terrible
Yeah.
idea. But also, regular rollers suck too, so they haven't figured that out either.
And as they're talking too, because now Dave's going into like, because I always wanted to be a musical artist when I was younger. And, that's when Mike said something to him about like, yeah, I want to be an unemployed Jew who wants to be a rapper. And Dave counters by calling himself a once-in-a-generation artist who just got verified on Twitter 9 days ago. And he goes, that's good that a robot told you that you're worth it.
I love that line.
To be fair, have you ever looked into what it takes to get verified?
It's apparently very hard.
Crazy. Yeah, you have to literally make the news. You have to have
Yeah.
been on the news to be verified. It's wild.
Yeah, that being said, if a robot wants to tell us that we're worth it, S1E1 pod on Twitter.
I would love that. Yeah.
Yes. We would love to be verified.
Yeah.
We need to make the news somehow.
Go streaking.
I was going to say, do you want me to press ham?
Well, considering that you just respond to everybody with D's nuts back and forth, I don't know if that's going to work anytime soon.
You
or
wouldn't
whatever.
let me respond to the planters on D's nuts because Jay wanted free nuts.
I didn't want free nuts. I don't want to eliminate the opportunity to one day be offered free nuts.
I'm with Jay on that one.
I love free nuts.
I don't want to close that door before we even get to the house.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. We could have our own nuts.
I got my own nuts.
So from there, we see Dave and Allie are outside now, and they're taking out the trash. And right when this happens, Dave gets a text from YG's manager saying that he'll do a track for $10,000. And the first thing that came to mind was, so we've seen this effect before on the Big Show, which is an episode, if you go back in our archives, you can listen to when we covered the Big Show.
The bubble.
When the text bubbles came up in that show, I hated it. I didn't mind it at all here. And I can't really figure out what was so different that I don't mind under this context.
Better content.
One was a good show, yeah.
Yeah, this show was funny and kept your interest. The other show was a fucking nightmare.
Right. I just remember like that, using that effect. Like we talked about it in that episode. how much like we just didn't think it works and it looked corny. But here it just, I don't know, it just fit, and I don't understand why.
It was what I think is that in the Big Show, it was almost like they transitioned to a template, and it was like back and forth, pop, pop, pop. Whereas this kind of had the design inside of the shot.
Yeah, it was more of an overlay.
Yeah, so it wasn't like you switched to like a computer screen and seeing it go back and forth. This was just in air, and I thought that added to it.
Also, it wasn't a little girl being like, I don't have my own bedroom. I miss you, Mom. Like, that really makes it worse.
The context, right, it changes your mood as you're watching it, too.
Like, and nothing against that, right? There's an audience for that. I think one of the biggest problems with the Big Show is that a bunch of dudes in their 30s, that show was not for, right? Where this show it is. And I think that's why it doesn't bother us so much, because you're
it got canceled instantly. I don't think it was for anyone.
Go to greenlit it.
If you guys want to go back, you could listen to the Big Show episode that we did, and we get into a full explanation of that.
Shout out to the Big Show.
Yeah, we did recently find out, shout out to the Big Show, which was a different podcast that actually chronicles all episodes of the Big Show. But yeah, so when Dave gets this text, he just shouts out like, holy moly, and is explaining all this to Allie, and Allie's excited for him, but she wants to know like what song that he's doing, and Dave doesn't want to get into it, and he's like, just you have to trust the process. And she's like, do you understand that I'm dating a rapper that I've never heard rap out loud? And she's trying to get him to just rap on the spot, and he just can't do it. He's like, listen, it's my job. He's like, I don't ask you to teach when you're home. And she's like, you just asked me if pork was beef.
Not everybody can make that distinction.
I mean, I can understand like the thought process of like being afraid, like not being afraid, but like being apprehensive about like just, hey, rap right now. Like you can't go up to a comedian and say, hey, tell me a joke. But I think kind of the rap culture, you're almost expected to be able to just like spit on the fly, right?
Freestyle.
Well, not only that, but doesn't he have a YouTube video where he's rapping that's been seen by 15 million
She says in
people?
person, though.
Yeah, she's heard him physically, like she's
Okay.
heard him rap, but just he's never rapped in front of her. She's never been present to it happening.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I get the idea he's never played a show.
Yeah, okay, all right. That
Right.
makes sense.
And then this is when she asks again, like, will you at least just tell me the name of the song? And he just kind of like looks off and goes, Girth, and just walks
He
off.
just keeps walking, yeah.
Doesn't even like make eye contact with her. He just says Girth and walks away.
No, I know you guys, obviously I know My Dick Sucks is the first song, and this one is Girth. Are all of his songs penis related?
No.
No, and I
In
don't
real
even
life, no.
think these are real songs. Are they?
My Dick Sucks was not. So I went when the scene happened earlier where he's looking on YouTube. I went to his YouTube page to cross reference to see where that video is at now, view count wise, and it's not there. So either he had a different account early in his career, or they just made this up to kind of retell the story.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
It could have got taken down.
Well, I doubt it.
YouTube are like Nazis now, so if it had inappropriate stuff, they may have pulled it.
I don't know. I don't think that's it. I just think he's retelling the story of like how his song Ex-Boyfriend popped off by just using a more generic kind of goofy example. So now Dave's in line at the bank and he's on the phone with his parents, which just to mention by name real quick, they're played by Gina Hecht, and she was actually George's therapist on a few episodes of Seinfeld. I figured Joe, you'd like a little Seinfeld reference.
Very funny.
And then the father is David Paymer, who's in a ton of shit. I can't think of like one.
I love this guy.
Carpool. He's the dad in Carpool.
He was also, I'm a huge fan of the Ocean's movies. He's the hotel reviewer that they screw over.
Okay, yeah, because he's just in so much.
I mean, he's in a million stuff, but he's also in No Holds Barred. You know, the two like Weasley guys who work for Kurt Fuller who go to the wrestling matches.
Okay.
And then Stan Hansen like finds him in the bathroom and like messes with them.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that. It's been so long since
you should rewatch it. He's he's like a pretty big character in that movie. He's in City Slickers. He's in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, City Slickers, actually. That would probably be thinking back, probably the thing I would know him from first.
He was a big 90s actor. He was in everything in the 90s.
But yeah, I wanted to point them both out because they both have a good amount of credits behind them, so I thought it was important to mention them by name.
He's also in Howard the Duck, so we should...
Oh.
He is in Howard the Duck.
Yes, he is. What a great movie.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He I don't think he's ever started anything, but he's just pops up.
He's always in
Yeah.
things, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
he must have like a million credits, yeah.
But yeah, so Dave basically just called them to notify them that he's about to access his bar mitzvah money. And obviously they have some concerns about this. He's been rapping for a while and he's never made a dime off of it. And Dave's trying to explain, well, you know, I have 15 million views on my video. And his dad's like, well, how does that translate into $0? Isn't there money in streaming?
It's a valid question. Yeah.
No, it's a very valid question. He
It is.
obviously knows what he's talking about too. He's not like totally lost, which I love.
And that actually kind of surprised me because you would think he wouldn't get that. Like he's of an age where he shouldn't even understand that concept, which kind of plays into the next part because that's when Dave's like, well, I can't make money off that video because I stole that beat. I just ripped it off the internet. And his mother's like, you stole it? And now they're all like, she's like, you stole it?
I also love too where he keeps trying to find the pronunciations for YG. He's like, YG? With a question mark? Or is it
Yeah.
Korean?
Is he
Did you
Korean?
steal the Korean rapper's beat?
Is there a question mark? Like YG?
YG?
And the dad's just like, is he Korean? Is he Korean? Just trying to reaffirm what she's saying to him.
Do you have a pen?
Also, that moment, it's such a stupid thing, but like, I can't wait to just be old and not have to work and just be yelling in a car. Like, I don't know why, but I find that so appealing where your whole day, the best part of your day is leaving Costco and just yelling in a car. That seems...
You know what's
like,
interesting?
I can't wait to get there.
The dynamic between him and his parents is strange too. You can tell how coddled he probably was because like he's 30 something, right? Like I would never call my mom and tell her I'm about to spend my own money, right? Like or
Right.
talk about I don't have like, you know, bar mitzvah fund obviously, but like that's all. Like it just thought it was weird that he had to call his parents and tell them that.
Yeah, unless
Yeah.
that they.
I'm guessing that, like you said, he's coddled, that it's probably still a joint bank account from when he lived
That's what
with
I was
them.
gonna say.
So
yeah.
they see
Yeah,
the
that's a
money
good
taken
point,
out
yeah.
and they'd freak out.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that makes sense to him warning them, right? Versus having...
You know what it could be too, which just occurred to me? I think he could have just been, you know, subliminally looking for should I do this or should I not? You know what I mean?
That's probably more the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's possible that it is a account with his bar mitzvah money. It could be an account they set up for him as a child, so their names are probably on it.
Well, I mean, a bar mitzvah is what, 16?
13.
13. Okay, so there you go. It was probably an account that they made when he was 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So-
you can't set up your own account at 13.
Right.
Especially if it's $10,000. I mean, it's minimum 10,000.
That's
Right.
a pretty
So-
good haul. I mean, I don't know if that's with interest. I mean, he's like, what, 30-ish?
If it's been, you know, in there for 20 years, he might have accrued some good interest.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like 5%. I mean, it's not that much interest.
No,
if
it
you
wouldn't.
stick
It
in
wouldn't.
a
Bump,
bank.
it wouldn't bump you by like thousands of dollars.
No.
But Joe, to go back, I did look it up. I don't remember his specific birthday, but I'm pretty sure he's like only a couple years younger than us. I think he was born in like '88 or something like that. I don't remember his actual.
So he's
birthday.
30-something, 30-ish.
Yeah. He's in his early 30s, especially when this came out.
So how come the whole time he's on the phone with them, they keep panning to this little Indian boy just staring at him? And I thought that was going to be a payoff, but nothing happened.
Yeah, it was just a visual of someone observing the conversation.
Oh, I sort of took it as like the little Indian kid maybe recognized him but couldn't place it, and it was like a weird situation.
No, I don't know. There wasn't really a payoff there. I think Ferg's right. The kid just found the conversation interesting, I think. Just that he was having this loud conversation in public, so someone had to react to it. But yeah, Dave hangs up with him at this point because he's about to get to the window. And this is when he informs the person that he needs to wire $10,000 to Blood Gang Entertainment, LLC. Attention, nutty. Which I just thought was a good close to that scene. It was just like
That was
the
good.
absurdity of naming your company Blood Gang Entertainment, and it's a limited liability.
Because if somebody told me tomorrow, like, if you were like, hey, any one of you is like, wire me $10,000, I'd spend like 45 minutes at least trying to figure out how you wire somebody.
Yeah, me too.
I have
Yeah.
no idea how you even do that.
I'm going to find
You
a
mean
Western
Venmo?
Union.
Right, yeah, like that's where we're at now. We're like, I mean, I don't have 10 grand to send you, but if I did, I guess I'd PayPal or Venmo you.
I was ready for you to say that you didn't know what Venmo was. That's what I thought the next
I've
line was gonna
Venmoed
be.
you before. This whole thing is an act. I'm actually just like super hip and smart, and
Yeah.
I just come on the show and I'm like, and what's the deal with mumble rappers?
When we close up, Joe's going to get on his Segway and go down the street to go buy some fresh nuts.
My meta stock is doing really well today.
So now we get to the next scene, and it's Dave, Els, and Mike, and they're all mini golfing. And Dave's really excited because like he just completed the transaction, and he's getting YG on this track with them. And Els is like, "You're gonna ask someone named Young Gangster to rap on a song called Girth?" And Dave's like, "Yeah, girth can be like a whole bunch of things. It could be the girth of his girl's titties or the girth of his mansion."
I mean, to be fair, it could
He's not
be.
wrong.
Yeah, technically he's not wrong, but I don't think that's what would be implied or what anyone would assume.
Also,
No.
El said earlier that they wouldn't want to like hear his like dick joke songs, but he was wrong about that too because clearly they do when he raps for them later. Not to get too ahead of ourselves.
Superhead, like the last scene of the show, but yeah, I mean,
Well, I mean, also to be fair, if you
To be
paid
fair.
me $10,000 to appear on your dick track, who am I to say no?
well, I think we're in different financials than what YG's at, right? You know, when you're at a certain point of your career, especially when you have an image that goes behind you, like all your moves have to be somewhat like strategic or you will lose your fan base.
No, you see, I took it as the $10,000 as one of those, I don't want to do anything with you, so I'm just going to make an absurdly high price point, and if you pay it, then fine, I'll do it.
I didn't look at that number as that crazy high.
I didn't
if he's
either,
that
yeah.
popular of a rapper. Yeah, I
I-
thought that was
I
like a
did.
fair ask.
I did because I didn't think that he was super high yet. Like, I thought he was like kind of on the cusp going up, but I didn't think that he was quite there yet.
It
Maybe
doesn't
I'm
seem
wrong.
out of the realm for somebody who's fairly popular to charge 10 grand to do like 5 minutes worth of work, I guess. though.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, you know, if you want me on there, the 10 grand it's fair.
Now, do you get that in perpetuity? That's my question, right? Does YG
No,
sing on his song and he's like, now you can sell it. Like, I don't have rights to it. I don't get
Correct.
BMG copyrights.
correct. He'd be a subcontractor. at
No,
that
But
point.
they even established earlier no contracts were signed.
Yeah, it does get established
So-
at some point.
In a
That's true.
normal circumstance, that's what you would do.
Yeah, I mean, like YG's like we've gone over. Like he's got a lot of listens. He's got over 7 million followers on Instagram, so he's a popular person. And I think again, when we talk about credibility, how many times have like artists that you guys like collaborated with other people that you don't, and you're like, oh, he did that, he sold out, he did this. So if your whole like image is behind being, his name's Young Gangster, if he's starting to like do verses on tracks where the guy just makes jokes about how tiny and gross his dick is, like that could kill your credibility a little bit.
I mean, in theory, but I mean, also too, if the other person pops off like little Dicky did, you could also gain some people.
Yeah, in theory, but that's a risk you have to make, right? So you have to
Yeah.
make sure that if you're going to collaborate with someone that you know that this is someone on the rise, that this could benefit me down the line.
So, Gordo, tell me more about when little Dicky pops off.
I don't know what you're talking about. Little Dicky popping off.
But yeah, during this golf scene, also, like, Mike is super wound up the entire time. Like you guys are saying earlier, he's getting work calls, like he can't focus. I mean,
I shot a 7.
you know what I thought was interesting about that? Can't you only go up to 6? Don't you have to pick up on 6 at most mini golf?
I don't know.
I
It's been
don't
a long
thi-
time since I've
I don't
played.
think there's anybody enforcing that rule.
Right, but I don't think you would give yourself a 7.
Isn't 7 a good number in golf, though? Or am I thinking
No,
of
it's a
tennis?
Terrible
Well,
number.
You
For
want
the
the
overall
lowest-
You want
round,
the
maybe.
lower the better.
Yeah.
Right, but 7 on a hard. You guys all play golf. I don't. I don't hate golf. I just have never played it. I like the driving range, but
So
7,
it goes by par. If it was a par 3, you went 4 over par.
right. But on like a huge course, like it's the Masters, and this thing is like 50,000 feet, and it's turns and twists and turns. You could technically get it in 7 and do well, right?
No.
There's very rarely anything more than a par 4.
Par
Okay.
5s exist.
Or 5, yeah.
But like there's, so essentially, yeah, each hole, like, first off, this is mini golf. So forget regular golf, but just to explain it real quick, regular golf, a course, 18 holes. Each hole is a different part of the course. And that hole is designated by how many yards it is, and the difficulty designates.
Yeah,
the
he's
par.
talking about one hole, Joe. He got a 7
Oh.
on one hole.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking of like if you're playing like a short game or something.
Yeah,
It's
no, if you're-
impossible to get
yeah.
a 7 in 18 holes. You'd have to get,
As I said, short game. Obviously, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense for an 18-hole
You
game.
could get
Who's playing
all
18
hole
holes
in
anyway?
ones,
Who's got that kind
and
of
the
time?
best score you could get is 18, Joe.
yeah. And that would be the most impossible golf game ever. But yeah, but in mini golf, you've played mini golf, right? 6
Yeah, it's
strokes
been a
is
while.
not
I
good.
like a good putt-putt.
Yeah,
Miss mini
7
golf.
strokes, not good.
Next spring when the weather's better, can we all go real golfing? I've never gone before.
I'll go real golf. Yeah, I hardly went this season, and I would have liked to
never
have gone
been
more.
real
Yeah, I lost
golfing
my
in my
clubs
life.
for the last part of the season, so
I don't want to go real golfing, but I'll go to a driving range with you.
No, let's all go real golfing.
It will take me eons to hit it to one hole.
Why do you
I
think
don't know
that?
how. Bro, have you ever seen me in the driving range, it just kind of, it goes like, kind of what little Dicky does when he pops off. He goes, bleh.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll talk about. I'm always down to golf. So if you guys want to go, and I'm terrible at golfing, so it's not like you're going with a couple seasoned pros like that.
You gotta
you
be
guys
better
would be
than
lagging
me.
us
You
behind.
should have seen me at Top Golf. I was terrible.
Can I rent clubs? Is that possible?
It's weird. COVID stopped the ability to rent clubs, but I'm sure it will come back. You can. It's also not cheap to rent.
Because you know what was
clubs.
happening?
Yeah.
People I don't want to get into too much of a COVID conversation, but I guess at the golf courses, people were licking the clubs as people normally do.
As you do.
And getting their DNA all over them.
Party
and
in the club.
and then when the new person rents it and it wasn't properly cleaned, they start licking the club. It becomes a whole thing.
I've got a buddy who golfs a lot, and he said the best thing to do was to just like piece by piece buy shitty ones at like the Goodwill.
I thought you were
Because you can find like individual clubs all the time, and you can just get them for like $2 a piece, and you just get like a shitty set together.
That was my thing. It's like Jay's brother buys a lot of expensive clubs and stuff like that. He's like, oh, you should get clubs, and I'm like, maybe one day I will, but I don't care about the game that much right now. I just enjoy doing it, and so I don't think you need to go spend $1 billion on clubs.
Yeah, you can get. I'm sure
Expensive
used
hobby.
clubs cheap. Gorda, we'll get it. We'll go in together and we'll share. We don't golf at the same time, right?
As long as we golf at the same time, we're good.
Yeah, I think we just game the system.
So the next scene, we see some more text from Dicky to YG's manager, and he hasn't heard anything from him since like the day he sent him the money. So while he's doing that, he's also looking at the acne like on his back and chest, and I don't know, what was he doing? I think he was like trying to use like
He's putting a cover on it.
concealer.
Using
Like, yeah, he's trying to use
Yeah.
some concealer of his girlfriend's. And as he's doing that, she actually runs in and shows him her phone. He's like, "Did you just tweet this?"
This is by far the best part of the entire episode. This destroyed me. I watched this like twice. I laughed each time.
Yeah, because the tweet just reads, "Just got head." And he's like, yeah.
Why is that so funny? If he had tweeted like, my girlfriend just gave me head, it wouldn't be anywhere near as funny as just got head. It's
Because
so
it's like a
funny.
lazy tweet too. Like it's like for him it's strategic, but it's like it looks like the laziest tweet you could send out, and it's a little out of character for him, right? Like when you look at everything you've seen of him so far, he's like so neurotic and shy about things, but
And then you find out that he actually didn't, and it was a lie, and it's even funnier that he
Right.
just, apropos of nothing, tweeted out and lied, just got head. That's so
Yeah.
stupidly funny.
because he sends that tweet out, and then like her mom called her and asking about it. He tells her it's just fictitious head.
Fictitious head. That's the crazy thing. That's the world we live in now, where like it's not to your friends anymore. It's coworkers. It's your family. Like your aunt might see you post that, or
Right.
your girlfriend or wife's aunt or whatever. Like we live in such a weird society now.
Yeah, and he's telling her that she needs to differentiate Lil Dicky tweeting from Dave Bird tweeting, which is his like shoot name, by the way. And he can't worry about like what his girlfriend's principal is gonna think if he's, rapping about 69ing a girl while she's on her period.
Her facial reaction to that was
Her reaction to that was
Yeah.
amazing. She's just like, again, it was much like when you saw the doctor at the top of the episode, like just blank stare, just doesn't know how to even reply to this.
I also love his excuse on this one. He's like, I didn't say Allie Warnick gave me head. It's like, I was very non-specific.
Well, who's giving you head then?
And I want to say just a side note. I don't know if you guys caught it, but like during this whole scene, he's just wearing a tank top that says puppies in yoga.
Yeah, I did
Like a
notice
little
that,
picture of
yeah.
like a puppy laying down. And he's like, you have to think of me as a corporation. Like when Wendy's tweets, nobody actually thinks that it's coming from Wendy. She's like, Wendy's not a real person. Wendy isn't tweeting about sucking Dave
then while
Thomas's
she-
dick.
While she's still going, he goes, Wendy is a real person. It's Dave Thomas's daughter. I know you don't want to hear this right now.
All this, aside from laughing at that super hard, all I could think of is the day that Dave Thomas from Wendy's died. We would have been like, I don't know, sophomores in high school or something. Jay, you came into school super bummed out, and you were like, fuck, Dave Thomas died. And I was like, from SCTV and Strange Brew? You're like, no, the burger guy. And I was like, oh, well, who cares then? And you got so fucking mad at me that I liked the other Dave Thomas more and cared a little less that Burger Dave Thomas died.
The funnier part about that is that Jay wore Dave Thomas's deaths for some reason. Like, why was that so detrimental to your day, Jay?
The other day, well, I don't recall this. It was some years ago. and other Dave Thomas I can only think of from like, wasn't he in Grace Under Fire?
Oh, for sure he was. Yeah, he's the pharmacist friend neighbor.
That's how I would have known him back then. Yeah, so fuck that Dave Thomas.
Hey, fuck
Dave
you.
Thomas. Other Dave Thomas brought us square burgers that are never frozen. So good on you.
Bob and Doug McKenzie. That's all I got to say to you.
I could be wrong, but I think they fought each other on Celebrity Deathmatch.
Did they do a Dave versus Dave?
I'm pretty sure.
Also, there was the rumor that after Dave Thomas died, they put him in all the chili.
Also, should we add Grace Under Fire to the list of shows? That's got to
course
be a
we
coming
should.
I
soon.
thought
No.
you just
Yeah.
said it. I was going to say it, but I thought
I
you
think
already
it's
did.
on the list of shows.
But then didn't they had to fire Quentin quit because didn't Brett Butler show her boobs?
Something weird.
It is
happened.
something like
like
that.
Yeah, there's something super weird like that where she's like, "Hey, come look at my boobs, y'all." To a kid, and then they were like, "The show's not canceled. You're fired." Like, wait, what the fuck? You could never do that now.
And she also goes like, "I don't want my mom knowing I gave you head." And he's like, "Your mom knows, my mom knows. Everyone's giving each other head."
At this
But
age, everyone's going to their head
Yeah.
at this age.
And she's like, "But I didn't give you head." He goes, "I know, you're making my point for me." Like, I don't even know what he's arguing at this point. So now we cut to Allie laying in bed and she's reading and she kind of looks upset. And Dave kind of crawls into bed with her and lays down and she immediately just turns away from him.
The
So-
rollover is never a good sign. You know
Yeah,
what
it's
that
not
means
good.
right away.
And that's when he opens up to her. He's like, I wired YG's manager $10,000 today and he hasn't replied to any of my texts since. And now I don't even know if he's even a real person. And I've been a wreck ever since this happened. And, I'm sorry for what I've said. Like, you're my moon, you're my rock, you're my number one person tied with my parents, which I thought was a nice, funny little thing that he threw in there with that. He's like, and up until you walked in today, I was actually crying in the house. So his vulnerability worked there because she does feel bad from now. And he's going to,
Yes, do you want a belly rub?
Yeah.
And then just rubs all over her, just climbs on top of her.
yeah, well, like initially when the belly rub is offered, they turn. So now she's big spooning him so she can just like rub his stomach for like a second. Does that calm you guys down when you're having a bad day? Just a nice little belly rub?
100%. I like it on the back, though.
100%.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say back, not
Yeah,
belly.
back's the best.
Yeah.
The belly.
Really? No, I'd much
Yeah.
rather someone rub my back.
Nah, I'd rather the belly.
Yeah, I'm against you on this one, Gordo. I don't think I wouldn't like my belly rubbed.
I want you to slap my belly like I'm Kamala.
Ooh.
I'm just gonna stay out of that one. I like my belly rub.
I'm
You were going
uncomfortable.
somewhere with that.
Side note, I'm cutting this when I do this, but it's easier to get into the, back only leads to the butt. So no wonder why you guys like
Please leave it in.
You can cut it. I still have all the video.
Gordo explaining how he gets pegged by accident so many times and he had to switch over.
Fucking stop it!
fuck.
My fucking phone.
Oh, your fucking phone.
Oh, I thought you said ow my fucking cum.
I don't know. How do I not use this clip? How do I not?
I guess we have to know.
I need a second to regather now.
Back only leads to the butt.
Oh.
Oh.
So now the next scene, we got Dave in the cafe. I think it looked like a cafe at the time. We see him texting again. It's been 3 days since he last heard anything from YG's manager. And then it cuts out and we see that he's not alone. He's actually there with Mike and Allie. And Mike's like, so there were no contracts at all? We talked about this earlier. And Dave thinks it's weird that he would even suggest that there were contracts. He's like, yeah, what do I know? I just work on Wall Street every day. I don't know anything about money or business or anything like that. And that's when Mike brings up that he's like, maybe Gator set this all up to like scam you. And like Dave never considered this because like obviously when you look at it from earlier, like that was the first time that they met and Gator was really quick to give him the info and stuff. So it is really plausible at this point that Gator was just out to scam him for money.
Yeah, right.
At this point, and I guess I would say more for Gordo and Joe who hadn't seen this before, did you find this to be like accurate? Like when he suggested it, did you think that's what the resolve was actually going to be?
No. It was going to be something else.
I didn't think
could
it was
just-
going to be what it turned out to be because I thought that was just like the weirdest coincidental type of reasoning that seemed kind of off and lazy to me. But I thought it was going to be something like, he's been out of the country, his phone's turned off or something. I didn't think it was going to be like he just hosed him and his friend didn't,
Yeah,
rip
I
him off,
thought he
whatever.
got like maybe like something happened with YG and maybe, he got picked up or something. That's what I thought.
There was like a nice little part after this because now they think they should go to Gator's house, and he asked Mike to go with them, and Mike's just not really for it. And Allie's like, I'll go. I don't give a fuck.
Call a lift. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. And then
Which I will now incorporate into every time I get a car
Every time you
ride,
need a
like
lift?
car share for the rest of my life. Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
And Dave thinks it's weird to bring his girlfriend. He doesn't think it's a good look. And Mike adds, yeah, and it would be weird if I went because like it would look like you're bringing your muscle, which Allie finds hilarious because I do think it's funny because when Mike's saying that, he's not saying it to be funny. And then, his reply to her finding this so hilarious is he's like, you're dating a man with no muscle on his body at all. He's just bones and tendon. You're dating a marionette. I really like that line.
Yeah, I thought that was very funny. It was a good button to that conversation.
He has
Yeah.
some of my favorite lines on the show. Like even earlier, we skipped over it, but when he's like, "Last time I smoked, I had to talk to the native for like 2 hours," and then Dave goes, he pronounces it cement. That line made me crack up for
Yeah.
like 10 minutes.
It's
And it was just the
cement.
stupidest line in the world.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I don't know if it's good or bad that the show is so funny and so rapid fire that you miss certain lines. Like you're thinking back on it.
because it goes quick.
Because he's great. Every line he has in this and everything he does is so funny, but I'm sure it'll take a second watching to like pick up on some of the stuff I missed.
Oh, for sure. Because I think like if we really want to delve into that and think about it, when you look at a lot of standard like family sitcoms that are set in like just one house all the time and in other shows, and you can see videos of episodes where like there's laugh tracks, so they tell a joke, they stop, wait for the laugh, then continue speaking again. There's a lot of like deliberate slow delivery so you can catch the joke instead of just like real life kind of natural conversation, which is more what we're seeing in a show like this.
Yeah, this is very true to form of real life. I give you that.
Yeah. And the before the scene closes out, we see a guy walk into the diner and he tells him that he's like also a rapper, right? And he recognizes little Dicky, so he's really excited about this. And Mike hates it. He's trying to like, he's being very sarcastic towards him and trying to get him out of there. I think he said his rap name was Nuance.
Nuance, yeah.
Yeah.
So he gets a quick picture with him, and then he doesn't just take the picture and leave. He's like trying to still talk to him. He's like, "Oh, is this your girlfriend?" He's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "I think it's totally cool how you talk about her giving you head and shit." And she's just like so mad because this is like the realization of all her biggest fears when it comes to this stuff.
And again, there's so many good buttons on this episode. He looks at her and he's like, I think that happens to most couples.
Yeah, now Mike likes this kid. So now the next scene, we see Dave and Els in the car together because apparently that's who we got to go with them. And Els like, "Oh yeah, I know why you need me here for things like this," kind of insinuating like you need like your black friend with you. And he's like, "Because we're going into the hood." And he's like, "Oh, is this the hood?" He's like, "There's not like a line that distinguishes when you're officially in the hood. There's no welcome to the hood sign when you're in the middle of it."
This is where he gets the joke too, like the Wayne Gretzky one, where he's like, "We're in South Central," and he's like, "Ooh, like Don't Be a Menace," which I fucking lost it at.
Yeah, so they get to Gator's house, and Gator brings them in, and he introduces them both to his mom. And he's like, "Oh, this little Dicky, he's like one of the best new rappers out there right now." And she just turns to Els right away, and she's like, "Oh, little Dicky, what's up?" He's like, "No, I'm a normal person. That thing over there is little Dicky."
That thing.
I really like the "I'm a normal person."
Yeah, I'm a normal person is very funny.
And she's like, "Why do they call you little Dicky? Do you have a little Dicky?" And he's like, "Soft, it hasn't grown since I was a child."
Yeah, just so rapid fire. There's so much.
That's the thing, like they all like go silent from that reaction, but what was she expecting when she asked them,
Right.
like,
You just ask a stranger if you have a little dick, and then like, what is the response you're hoping to get from that?
Well, when you find out that their chosen rap name is Lil Dicky, it's not like that's his government name. So when you decide to go by Lil Dicky, you couldn't help but be a little curious as to what drove you to that name.
Sure, but you think like if a middle-aged woman was to meet somebody, most people would be like, "My name's Little Dicky," and you'd be like, "Okay," and you'd keep that inside. You wouldn't be like, "Do you have a little dick?"
Right.
No, I mean, we all know that it would be, a young Richard.
But this is when Lil Dicky explains to him,
I can't be mad at you, but holy shit.
Don't give him that bird.
I laughed at him laughing at his own joke. I didn't laugh at the joke.
Yeah,
Oy.
so that's when he does explain it a little bit more clearly. He's like, it's a play on rap names, and it's just kind of something you wouldn't expect. So, out of like a normal rapper to call himself that. So he's like, oh, so it's satirical. He's like, yes, finally. See, people understand that. So now Dave gets into the real conversation, and he explains to Gator what happened with the money. And he kind of is trying to figure out what happened to it. And Gator and his mom are pretty quick to realize that he's essentially accusing him of stealing this money. And Gator tells him right, he's like, oh, first off, he's like, Nutty changed his number the other day. And he's like, why would he do that in the middle of a 10K transaction? Gator goes on to say, it's not really cool of you to just kind of like judge based on appearance like that. He's like, people see you and think a certain way, but you rap hard, so you can't just be judging people like that. And right as this whole conversation is going on, by the way, not to get ahead, but in that moment, great point by Gator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is like the real serious monologue of the show.
Yeah, he's like, you're judging me based on what you know of me and what you see. But in fairness, I don't think that was really the approach that he was making, because I think it was more like, I just met you, you put me in contact with someone, I gave them $10,000 and now my money's gone. It's not so much like based on an appearance thing, but I can see how Gator perceived it that way.
Yeah, I can understand his thought process there.
Right. So, but while this is all happening, because as soon as he found out that there was a new number for Nutty, like Dave texts him immediately and gets a quick reply saying, hey, we're at the studio now, come here and we'll record something. And Gator dismisses any feelings he had about just being accused of stealing from him. He's like, we gotta go to the studio right now. It jumps in the car with him. Now, the next scene, we see Gator and Dicky walk into the studio, and it's filled with everyone that we see from like earlier in the episode when they were all there, including that big dude who got all the snacks from them. And this huge dog runs up barking and jumps up on little Dicky. And this is when we first see Nutty too, and he's explaining, he's like, you need to learn to control your fear. He's like, how do you actually control that? And it's going on for like a second. And eventually it just kind of resolves with someone else in the room telling the dog to get away, and the dog
I think he says, how do you control that? I have so much fear.
He's like, I reek of fear.
And then Gator makes some comment about the dog. I don't remember specifically what, but Nutty just immediately asks him why he's there and kicks him out. And Gator was kind of like, what the fuck? I'm the one who created all this. I put you guys in contact with each other. He's like, it doesn't matter. He just essentially push him straight out of the door at this point. And I was a little curious by all that at that point. Like, why does he hate him so much?
You find out later why.
Yeah.
But right now you don't know, so it is confusing.
Because you're like, he has his number, and then when he changed his number...
Yeah, he found that out quick, too.
He gave him the new number. Yeah,
well,
someone
that's because he gets them weed, though, so they need him. So he would know if they changed the number.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you're the contact, you're going to need to know the number.
That's true. So finally, Dicky and YG are introduced to one another, and Dave's trying to explain this the Gertz song to him a little bit, and YG's not listening to him at all and just kind of walks off to start working like on whatever track he was doing earlier. And now from that point, like, it cuts to they're playing a song and like everyone's in the studio just kind of listening to it. I did want to mention that's an actual YG song, by the way, called Don't Stop. So that's what they're listening to in that scene. Yeah, so it is a real song by him at that point.
That was actually a really good song.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Check that out.
Yeah, it's where he sits on all the guns. He's like, I sat on your weaponry.
Sat on your weaponry.
Right before that, he's sitting down and someone passes him a joint, and you can see that he's actually hitting it this time. So before he restrained from smoking when Gator offered it to him, but I think maybe, I don't know if it's the nerves of the situation or the nerves of saying no to these people.
I think a little bit of both, column A, column B.
But yeah, like you guys just said, after that point, he's he goes to sit down on the chair and feels something, so he gets back up and like moves the jacket away, and he's like, oh, guns. And that's what like cuts the music short, and everyone's now looking at him. He's like, oh, I didn't know if like, something was afoot. Like, if there's something going on that I need to be made aware of.
Like, there's going to be a heist.
Yeah. And one of them's like, aren't you a rapper? And the big guy's like, I thought this dude was an intern.
An intern?
And he's like, no, actually, you got me all wrong. I'm actually one of the best rappers alive. And, you hear a little bit of laughter there.
He just he gets a sack and he kind of...
Yeah, it like flipped out of nowhere, right? Like something just finally hits him. He's like, in 5 years, you're going to like look back at this and be thankful you got to spend this time with me and say that, you knew me before I popped off.
Yeah, he was like finally being little Dicky.
Yeah, well, I was wondering is this him finally taking Gator's advice?
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
I think so, yeah. He has to like come into his own and play the character now. Yeah. Is that drip? Is that what they referred to as drip earlier?
Drip is like more your... like attire.
Oh, okay.
Like
I actually wrote it in my notes and forgot. I was like, I don't know what drip means.
Swag is what you're thinking.
I know that Ric Flair drip go woo on a bitch.
Yes. And so YG tells him, he's like, that's the same shit every new rapper says. And then he has him like, do you fuck black bitches, little Dicky? And that's when the line you said at the top of the episode.
Statistically, I skew white.
Yes. And they're like, well, who you been fucking? He's like, well, mainly my girlfriend exclusively at this point. And he gets into details about how she recently switched her birth control pills and now she's a little bit drier lately. And YG's like very interested. At this point of the conversation, he's very invested.
Yeah, he's all in at that point. Yeah, this got into a very interesting conversation.
And Dave says something along the lines of like, next time I'll put my ear to the pussy next time I'm in that ass. He's like, or when I'm in that pussy, he's like, I've never done anal.
I don't think I'd like it very much. He's so matter of fact.
And then the next thing he says to them is, hey, you guys going to Coachella this year?
That killed me. I don't even know
how to get out of it. He didn't know how to get out of the conversation. So now at this point, I think they're like very just entertained by who this human is because he's so like abnormal to them at least. And YG pulls out his phone. He's like, all right, you're rapping. He's like, start rapping. And as we've already know, like Dave is not comfortable rapping in front of people, like especially on the fight, especially in front of all these people, like out of nowhere. He won't rap in front of his girlfriend, like in their backyard, taking out the trash. And, you know, so he's like, no, I can't. And he just kind of shies away. And this is when they kind of get turned off from it. And I think it was YG who says like, I thought this dude was a rapper. So they're about to just move on from all this. And he's like, all right, let's start some new track from scratch. And right when like the guy behind the booth starts playing like just like the click track, finally like Lil Dicky like stands up. He's like, because I think he realizes this moment's about to pass. He's about to throw $10,000 away because he wouldn't rap in front of people. And he just says like, wait. And he finally just starts rapping. And they let it go on for a good solid couple minutes.
Did anybody pull any of the lyrics out too? Because the lyrics are like, there's some insane shit where he says Mel Johnson is afraid of mosquitoes.
All of his songs are like actually like that though. He's lyrically he's really good. Like it's I don't know I don't understand how you could put terminology like that into a song legitimately and have it sound good, but he does it and I don't get how.
I mean, I don't know much about rap, but like I would say from my knowledge he's a good rapper. Like he goes off and he's quick and good and it is impressive.
Yeah, so I mean the scene went on for a while and you could see like he was really in the zone, right? Like everything you know about Dave goes away when he finally becomes like Lil Dicky in this moment. Not that there's this huge transformation, but as he's going around the room, he's interacting with everyone, he's like grinding up on this girl who's sitting in the chair, like just stuff Dave would never really do. And YG's recording this whole thing, and as he finishes up, he like turns the camera to himself and he leaves a message for Allie, telling her to like, you know, next time you gotta come at him with that slickness. He's like, no more of that drive stuff. You know, you got to take your birth control the next day. And so now he's like, now Lil Dicky is back. You know, it's like the Hulk just turned back into Bruce Banner, right?
Can you not post that, please?
Yeah. Can you please don't? He's like, did you post it? Yeah, I did. So now they're all about to walk out, and Lil Dicky's like, wait, I thought we were going to work on the song. And Nutty tells him, oh, don't worry, you know, we'll be back in a few weeks. We'll take care of it. And obviously Lil Dicky's, he's worried, right? He thinks they might just forget about him. I don't think that it's like an elaborate scam, but this moment's just going to pass by. So he's following them out into the parking lot. And he walks right up to YG's car, and he's, you know, YG's about to pull out of the space, and he's like, hey man, you know, I just gave you my life savings. Like, he's not pretending to be more than he is. He's like, you know, you were supposed to do the verse for me. Like, what's going on? He's like, oh man, my bad. He's like, in a few weeks, you know, we'll do something crazy, okay? And he's still a little apprehensive, but he's, you know, I guess cool with it. Like, he's going to take this guy's word for it. So they pull off, and, you know, he's alone in the parking lot, and you just start seeing like the text shots, and he's getting like texts from like 20 different people all at once because that post on YG's Instagram, obviously, like I said, as of now, he has over 7 million followers on Instagram. So if he's going to post a video of you rapping, that's going to get some attention. So instantly it's like, it's, you know, it's going viral for him. And then the next text you see is one from Allie though. And it's like the video being forwarded to him. And she wrote, great rap, dry vagina with a bunch of question marks.
Yeah.
It's interesting what that is. He can actually make money off that because it's not a stolen track.
Yeah. Well, YG can, I think, in that moment. And then we see like Gator come up out of nowhere. I guess he was just like hiding in the building.
Comes out of the bushes.
Yeah, he didn't leave.
He's like, man, I've been there for like an hour. He asked if he got the verse. He's like, no. He's like, but he did put me on my Instagram. And Gator's like, well, he basically directed a music video for you now, which I guess is a very positive outlook towards it. And
probably worth way more than 10 grand. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he's not on a song with you, but in the social media age, if you're going to get exposed and have 7 million people instantly being able to see you rapping, it's not a bad sign. And it's a different audience too, right? It's like that validation you wanted. When your video goes viral on YouTube because you're talking about how gross your dick is, it's getting a very different viewer base than YG, who's like an accomplished rapper, and his followers on Instagram. Like the crossover might not be that big there. So now Dave's just like, listen, I'm way too high. You know, would you mind driving for me? And as they're getting in the car, Dave asks Gator, basically he's like, hey, earlier when I first met you, were you essentially just like using me to get into the studio? And Gator's reply was like complicated, but it made sense. It was essentially just saying like, hey, listen, like we need each other. So like, yes, in a way I was using you to get in, but like we're Shaq and Kobe, we're going to help each other here.
Which makes sense, right? I like the coming to, like, we didn't become friends from a traditional path, but now we're clearly, especially in a pilot episode, like, okay, now we know where this is going. These two will for sure be sort of tag team going forward.
Right. Because they both have, like, their quirks about them. So, like, they come from different walks of life, but Dave's such an eccentric person, and Gator is as well, and just in a different way. So, different but same.
And he tells me they're going to be telling this story at their 50th birthday party.
Yeah. At their big joint birthday party. And then he's like, forget that. He's like, what are you doing this weekend? And Dave's like, nothing. Like, he's burnt out. This was an exhausting day for him. Like, he just wants to sit around and do nothing now.
But a new friendship is born, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the entire episode. So, coming off this, before we get into Greenlight and Cancel, like, anything that you guys want to say in closing about this episode in general, just overall feelings having watched it?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I mean, like, I will say that I did for sure say when I heard about what kind of show this was and what it was about, I went into this, I try to be open-minded, but I went into this with very preconceived notion of what I thought it was going to be, and it was not that at all.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I just think for a show like this, obviously the appeal when they create a show like this is capitalizing on Little Dicky's fame in mostly his audience. You hope follows him into watching it. But I think as we see, this is a show that's not, rap is a big undertone of the whole show, obviously, because that's like his occupation, but you don't have to be involved in the rap world to understand what's going on, because it's more about him as a character and his relationship with other people, more so than just being locked into the fact that it's all about rappers.
That's what I liked about this a lot, was that like it was around rap, but like all of those people could have been made up, and I wouldn't have known the difference.
But I'll say this, though, kind of interesting that you say that, because I feel like that argument kind of could have been made about the league, but you didn't really like the specifics and people that were being used in there.
The thing about the league was they were using actual NFL players.
Yeah, but there's actual rappers being used here. Gator's a real rapper. YG was a real rapper. Just hit you different.
I think to your point, Gordo, an NFL player will always fade out because you can't play football forever, whereas a rapper could always rap theoretically, so they could always be relevant, where, Maurice
like
Jones
you're like a Drew Bledsoe or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, with that, I think that's a good point.
No one on the Drew Bledsoe joke?
I think you were saying it in the middle of someone else talking, as you do sometimes, so I didn't completely catch the Drew Bledsoe joke.
How dare you?
What was the Drew Bledsoe joke, Joe?
Yeah, tell it one more time.
No, it's gone now.
Okay.
Good, it's where it belongs.
So in any event, yeah, let's get into our green light or cancel. Nick, I'm going to start off with you.
This is a green light. I think you, Jay, said it earlier in the episode, but my favorite thing about this show is it does really feel real. I feel like I'm watching a real person, because in a sense we are, right? I think this is more of a loose documentary on Lil Dicky, Dave Berg, as it is, right? I mean, he's got to be pulling this from somewhere. I don't know what his real upbringing was into the rap world, but it does feel real. It's really funny. He's hysterical. Props to him. I don't think he acted very much before this, and he does a really good job. Same with maybe a couple of the other guys, too. I really like the ensemble. I'm not a huge fan of his girlfriend right off the bat, but it just seems like it's going to continue to be fun, so I'm greenlighting it.
Gordo.
I'm with Nick. I'm going to greenlight it. I didn't know anything about this show. I didn't even bother looking up the promo or anything. I had no idea what it was. I have no idea who this guy even is. So when I watched it, I was like, what the fuck is this? And at first, I kind of didn't like it. And he just won me over. He was just so authentic. I think Nick really said it better than me, but the show is just authentic. And that's what I really liked. I want to see a second episode. It was funny.
Joe.
Yeah, I went into this, I try not to, but like I was tired or something, and I was like, oh god, some YouTube rapper show, like I don't want to watch this. And 2 minutes in, you're hooked. I think to Nick's point, it does feel real, right? It feels like real people, it doesn't feel like real actors, and the writing reminds me a lot of Letterkenny, which I think is a super funny show. It's that back and forth, real people talking sort of thing, but they're way funnier than any of us are in real life. And I always find that as like an interesting sort of prism. I've really enjoyed it. I'm going to keep watching it, and it's a green light for me.
Ferg.
Green light for me. This is one of those shows that, like, ever since I watched it, I try to suggest it to as many people as possible because I know they'll like it, which is why I picked it for the show this week. Everything we've said is already covered. Like, everything's been covered, but yeah, the dialogue is amazing. nothing but laugh, and I had already seen the show, So yeah, green light.
All right, so down to me. And first, before I even get into it, to counter, I think, Nick, was it you said you didn't like the girlfriend or Gordo?
Nick,
Yeah, that was me. That was me.
Nick.
All right, well, just to say, I mean, she didn't have a pivotal role in the show. I'm so, side note, so attracted to this female.
Oh, she's very much a J girl, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's
But,
very cute.
I also,
Yeah.
Ferg, I thought she was the girl from Wilfred, but she's not. They're kind of similar.
You know who I thought she was? I thought she was the girl from Kim's Convenience.
Yeah, she's just got a very, like, neutral face.
But in any event, I guess to get into my actual green light or cancel, you guys mentioned it earlier, like when you mentioned Curb Your Enthusiasm, I think that was like a good pull. So in a lot of ways, it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm meets 8 Mile, right? So it's very specific to Lil Dicky's story, and I think the tone is there for him, and I think you're introduced to his world properly through this show. That first scene in the doctor's office, you know exactly what the show is going to be, and it takes, just a few seconds to just be part of what's going on. I was a big fan of the show. It was one of those shows that early on when it first came out, a few people watched and kept talking about it, and it was just kind of on my radar, like, I'll eventually watch it. And finally, months down the road, I finally sat down and I pumped out season 1 so quick. Haven't gone around to season 2 yet. I think watching this episode again today is going to reignite that desire to watch those episodes. So I'm sure I'll probably have that all done within the week now. So obviously a green light for me. So yeah, that's 5 out of 5. Overwhelming yes for Dave. And that's all the time we have for this week, guys. So go to S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find all our links to every way you can listen to us, all our social medias, S1E1 Pod on Instagram, Twitter, all that. Please follow us, subscribe, do all that stuff. Spread the word. Let people know. We appreciate all the feedback. Let us know how you feel about the show. We're always evolving and changing, so keep us up to date with how you feel about what we're doing. Let us know shows you want us to cover. We'll listen to that stuff. We take that stuff in too. But that's it. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best Dave Thomas.
Is he
Said it
Korean?
like semen.
Joe, you were muted.
Joe is muted.
You're still muted.
He's still muted.
Fuck me. All right. Well, that didn't work out well.